Hello and welcome back to Sports for Dummies. In today's episode, we are doing all aboard the premiership. Johnny, do you want to touch on it for the viewers who are watching who don't know what it is right now?
So it's a ship, and we've called it the Premier, and it pretty much is where does every team sit on this ship, and where they sit is where they are, I guess, relatively to the competition. So I'll run it through with you. So in the drink, in the water, they're not on the ship, they're dead. They're sides that have no chance of winning a grand final, and they're just out of contention.
Yeah.
Then you've got the life rafts. So you're attached to the ship, but you're not on the ship. You're not really a threat, but you're not dead yet. A little bit of a wave, and you're off it. Then we've got starboard, where you're on the side of the ship. You're towards this. You're hanging on by the rails. You're still alive. There's still mathematical chances, but it's not looking good. Then you've got the deck. You're in the middle of the shit. Your season's very much alive, but you're not at the top echelon of the competition. Then we have the captain's quarters, that's the best room. That's the best room really on the ship, and that's where all the premiership contenders are. And then to finish it off, you've got the captain's wheel, which is they're the favourites. They're the favourites. They're the side that everyone wants to beat. They're driving this competition right now.
All right, well, let's start with the ship first.
Okay.
Who is in the drink, Johnny?
Well, I think the drink has been pretty similar the whole year. We've got North Melbourne, worst club in the history of all time. Might be the worst sporting team of all time. Richmond, who have only won one game.
Yep.
Which is ironic because they've beaten, we won't say who, but they've beaten, pretty much the best side in the comp. That's their one win. And then you got West Coast. I know there was a bit of hoo-ha about Harley Reid and whatnot. They've got smacked their last 2 games and lost their last 3. They're not any contention. They're not alive. We're just looking at Harley. We're just watching for Harley Reid at this point.
So the last time we did this, we had Hawthorn in there. Have they reignited since their win?
Hawthorn weren't dead. They're alive. They're not alive. Now, and we'll get to the life raft where Hawthorn is, but I think they've been playing with a bit of spunk, and they've won a couple of games.
Yeah, so 3 and 5. Got to give them. 3 and 6.
3 and 6. So a little bit alive, and they're causing havoc for some sides.
They are. West Coast absolutely horrible.
Yep.
North are, as we said in yesterday's episode, the absolute one of the worst sides. What were you saying? I think. What did you say? 13%
I think it's the
winning average.
13% winning average over the last 5 years, and there was something that came out. This is their worst percentage, like in terms of what the amount of players and the percentage that they've played in wins. And we were going through players like Harry Sheezel, Eddie Ford that they've played in like 9%. Like 9% of their career, they've had losses. Like they don't win games, so they're dead.
They're done. That's not even. No, that brings us to the life rafts.
Still alive. So we've got St Kilda. What a disappointing side they've been. We really had some high hopes. They beat Collingwood at the start of the year. Really, since that Bombers game, where they were 3 goals up at half time, it looked like they were just going to steamroll you.
We just came back and stole the game.
And you just ruined. You guys learnt from your Port Adelaide game. They've gone the opposite. They just have no stars in there. What's interesting, Hawthorn's with them. Both sides, interestingly enough, do not have an A-grader in their list.
No. And they're
You can fight me on that, but not one of them. Those two do not have a genuine A-grader.
I was trying to think who. Sicili's not in Hawthorn's defence. You can't say he's an A-grader.
He can play A-grade football, but he's out. He hasn't been consistent this year. What I do like about Hawthorn is, ironically, they're playing with a bit of heart, bit of soul. But ironic that those two teams are in the life raft who don't have a genuine A-grader.
And Hawthorn have a lot of potential, a lot of young players coming up through the ranks. I think they're
coached well. Yeah.
They're a rebuild. But St Kilda, that last year they got into the finals and they got out.
Looked good at the start of the year.
Yeah,
almost beat the Cats at their home deck. Dismantled Collingwood and really, they won by 3 goals, but really flattered them. They've been very ordinary since.
Ross the Boss has a very good ability to let teams not score against them, and that seems to be what they've done. Aside from their game against Western Bulldogs, where I think they got pumped by about 60, they're not losing games by much.
No, they're not.
does that mean that like, do they have potential to get up?
I agree. So I agree with that. That is actually, it's a good statement. They're not geting smashed.
They've played great teams too.
And it's like Carlton's losses. Like there's a positive, in the losses that we did have. We haven't been blown out as well.
Yeah,
they did get blown away
by the Doggies.
By the Doggies, and that all goes to shit when you lose to a side like Hawthorn. That all of those honourable losses and. I'm sorry, St Kilda played in the finals last year, so a pass mark for them is to win a final. There's none of this honourable loss shit. Oh, we just lost, blah, blah, blah. No. You win or you lose, and that's where St Kilda are.
No, I like it. I think you got to be brutal. Like you said, a win's a win, like Carlton winning against Melbourne. Even though it was by 1 point and you should have won by more, it's a win. That brings us to the starboard, yeah?
Starboard.
So you're on the side. I refer to this one for anyone who is watching, kind of like Pirates of the Caribbean, where they're like on the edge of it and they've got like the diving boards and they're about to be pushed off. That's almost where they're at.
But can they do a Captain Jack Sparrow and get back on deck?
Grab the rope and fly into the deck.
I like that. Well, we've got the two. So we got. Apart from St Kilda, we've got the two most disappointing sides. Brisbane, everyone had them, at least minimum top 4. Adelaide, I think everyone would have them playing finals. With it. They've just been disappointing. They played into a draw. There's still, I guess, a chance.
Yeah.
Then you have Gold Coast. Gold Coast are only just outside the 8, but they are doing the same thing all the time. They're beating the sides they should when they're at Metricon.
Yeah.
But then they lose everywhere else. Now, they've got Geelong this week, and this is a thing. So Gold Coast will beat crap sides at home, and they've got a stunning record against Geelong and Metricon. So they could beat the Cats this week.
Are they playing at Metricon or Geelong?
Yeah.
Oh.
And everyone will go... well, I don't think they'll win, but if they win, everyone will go ballistic. This is the side. This is what we want. You'll see the media pump them up, and then they'll drop.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Look, I
haven't been wrong about the Suns
bold
yet.
Predictions. I haven't been wrong about Saints.
No,
you haven't
you
been
have
wrong.
been.
I was pumping Suns, saying this is the year they can make it into the finals. They've got the talent there. They've got the coach. They and I mean, arguably, I reckon wouldn't put it past them recruiting a superstar that's at Richmond right now.
They were taken apart. They were taken apart by Brisbane.
Yeah,
they were smacked by Sydney. They were smacked by the Bulldogs. They go out of sunny Queensland. They
lose.
Correct.
Which I'm worried because Essendon's got them in 3 rounds.
Well, we spoke about that. Ironically, when you'll see Essendon higher on this ship, that's not an easy game.
No.
That's not an easy game.
Now, I feel like last time Gold Coast were in the life rafts. Did they get an upgrade?
We haven't done this for 2 weeks.
They got an upgrade.
And the whole the whole competition's got an upgrade because of how even it is.
That's true.
And the Suns, they're only a couple of games out, so they're not in the life raft yet, and we've sort of done a restructuring on criterias and whatnot.
Yeah. All right, that brings us to...
Well, I think there was one more side.
No.
The Bulldogs?
Yeah, we talked about it.
We talked about it. No, look, we haven't. I've not spoken
Actually,
about
sorry,
the yo-yo
club
that the fucking Bulldogs are. I think they're just going to sit there because they'll go 1 week on, 1 week off, 1 week on, 1 week off. They got GWS this week in GWS. I think they'll get pantsed there. But they've had massive wins and incredible lows.
You know what's weird? GWS and Bulldogs. I don't think that's going to be as easy as people make it out. Bulldogs actually compete, like their style of football, very similar to GWS. They're very good with their foot, foot.
Yeah, it'll be a very elite field kicking game. And when the Giants first became a good side, when they were making prelims and they made a granny in 2019, and I mean, one of the best games I ever seen was in 2016, the prelim final between GWS and the Bulldogs.
Yeah, that's it.
And they've always gone head to head against each other. A couple of players from the Dogs have gone over there. A couple of GWS players came over here at one point.
Do you reckon that's going to become a rivalry down the track? I almost think
it was a rivalry.
Yeah.
No. It was a genuine rivalry. It was a genuine rivalry. Probably not as
hard.
Not as much, but for 2016 to 2021, it's always been fascinating games. It was a 5-year period where it was great football.
So
it's one of the best prelims I've ever seen.
They're going to have some mental abilities there. Like both teams are going to go into that and go, you know what, we have a bit of history here. We want to win. And I think
And both
I
need
think
to
Doggies are exactly right. GWS didn't coming off a loss. Doggies coming off a good win, and it's going to be interesting. Let's wait and see. That brings us to on deck. Is it on deck?
On deck.
On deck.
And this makes sense.
Freeman.
This makes sense. The Grinders. The Grinders. Nothing. They've got all. I shouldn't say they're not. There's nothing good to like about them because they've got the players like Sarong and Jackson, which are exciting to watch. That's just where they sit. That's just where they sit.
Yeah,
For me.
I can't see Freo, like what we said, I was a bit disappointed. I thought that there were going to be some games that they really, I mean, surprisingly, they did not take it up to Sydney. Like I was shocked at how well Sydney did against them. But
They said they're hard to get a read on because they started the year really well. They won their first 3 games, lost a couple of close ones to inform Carlton, Port Adelaide. Then I think the shock was when they lost to West Coast. But since that game, they were really good. They got back on track, and then for Sydney to come into their house and beat them by 10 goals. I think Freo are they're doing better than the other. They're a bit more consistent to the sides on the starboard.
Yeah.
So I like Freo where they are.
from an eye test point of view, I think you've got to look at that and go, because they're
They
just out of the
sides,
8th
and
now.
they strangle sides.
Because Freo is now 9th.
Yeah.
So they're just out of the 8th, but yeah, you're right.
They're a
they do.
scrappy team. They're a scrappy team.
They keep teams to very low scoring margins, and it's interesting. They have the potential to really jump up or go down.
I think they're probably going to sit around,
You reckon they're gonna stay
9 to 12th. I mean, we're going to go through, who's in the coaches' quarters now, and I can't see them taking anyone's spot.
Yeah, that brings
So
us.
far.
We've got a pretty in-depth coaches' quarters. So there's a few
The coaches' quarters is full. This is full.
There's people on the floor.
And now let me explain this is because after each games you'd think, I take a side in, we take a side out. Every one of those sides have beaten each other.
Yeah.
So how can you get a guide on it? And Essendon and Collingwood are in the best form in that coach's quarters. They're 4 of their last 5 with the draw. The other ones though are 2 and 3, 3 and 2, and have all beaten each other. And we can go through it. So Essendon have won 4 as a
The last 5, they've won the last 4 and drawn once.
and that was against Collingwood.
Yep, Collingwood are the exact same.
Collingwood are 8th, but out of all those sides minus Bombers, Collingwood are actually in the best form out of all of them, and we'll go through that why. Even though Collingwood started back with their hangover, they haven't lost for 5 weeks. And then you go through the other sides. Then you've got Carlton, who lost to GWS and Geelong. Port Adelaide have lost to Melbourne, beat Geelong. You've got Geelong who have lost their last 2 games to Melbourne and Port Adelaide.
Yeah.
GWS have lost 3 of their last 4. Melbourne lost to Brisbane, got smashed by Brisbane, beat Geelong, have beaten Port, and then we're 7 goals down halfway through the second quarter against Carlton.
Yeah.
How can we get a read on this?
I don't understand. It's weird too. Like you look at the Bombers right next to Port, and Port spanked them by 69 points. Essendon beat GWS. I think we've got Geelong, and we drew with Collingwood, but we've got Carlton, Geelong, and Melbourne coming up in the next 8 rounds.
Apart from the Bombers, well, actually, no. This is the thing. All of them have at least played each other. Collingwood. This is the thing. GWS beat Collingwood at the start of the year. They are all in the mix, and they're all playing each other, which is good. Which means it's going to field itself through, and they're all beating each other. So you can't put one in clear out of the other. You got to almost wait till Essendon are in prime position because they've got 2 easy games.
This is a really unique one, right? That's the top 8. Who else is breaking into that top 8?
That's why you said
Brizzy
Freo
or Adelaide or Freo.
So I don't see them drop. They're the ones probably of capability. Brisbane have lost too many injuries now. They're out. Can Adelaide should have beaten Brisbane. I can't see it happening.
Yeah.
You made a comment about Freo potentially, but if from a supporter, just a natural football supporter, not a Carlton supporter or anything.
Yeah.
We talked about race for 17 this year.
It's the best year for
How
it.
fucking good is it?
It's
For football,
happening.
can you imagine if Carlton, Essendon and Collingwood play each other in a final? But then you've got Geelong in there, throw them in, Melbourne. And we haven't even talked about the best side yet.
Yeah.
But if that was your top 8 right now, whatever order, doesn't matter who finished second or third or fourth, obviously it does for the double chance, anyone can beat each other on the day.
100%. One thing that does annoy me is the two teams that we've played 3 teams in the top 8 and we've lost to 2 of them.
Yeah.
Essendon lost to Port and we lost to Sydney.
Well-
But I think we've corrected our ability after we realised what we'd done wrong. Our third quarter pressure dropped off. Every other game that we've played since Port Adelaide, we have come out and absolutely dominated after the half.
I think what happened I think Brad Scott was pretty happy with your guys at the start of the year. You had you lost to the Swans by 5 goals. You'd just beaten Hawthorn. I think he was a bit happy where you guys were and you weren't playing that good football. Port gave you a reality check like, no, yous aren't close. And it actually forced him, the enemy of great is good.
Yeah.
And that's gone, guys, you're fucking nowhere. And your defensive structures were disgusting.
100%.
You're pressuring the ball. We spoke about it for the first month. You guys had conceded, I think it was like 40 goals.
Well, that's why we have the worst percentage. We have like the 15th
But
or 14th percentage.
you've adjudicated your pressure on the ball carrier, especially that GWS game, especially that last quarter. They couldn't fucking move.
No, we were all over them like a rash, like a bad bloody rash, which is good to see. That brings us. Are we done on the captain's quarters?
Sorry.
Let's go to the captain's wheel. Who's in charge of the ship, Johnny?
Let's go to the captain's real reveal. Sydney Swans. Now, Sydney had a really good start to the year, and then they had a little drop off. This is what I mean by ironically. The seat that they've lost to, they're dead. Richmond died.
Yeah.
And it gave a blueprint because they only just beat West Coast the week before. Or it was afterwards, only just one. Week after, Richmond out-pressured him. Was like, is these injuries that haven't, is it happening? They had their bye. They have not put a foot. They haven't put a foot wrong. Smashed Fremantle, smashed GWS, who at the time were looking fantastic. They are clear on top with a 27% percentage better than the Cats, and Luke Parker is getting 25 touches and kicking bags of goals in the seconds. He's not in. They've got the best users: Goulden, Roberts, Campbell. Warner. Warner. I mean, just going. Rampy, Lloyd.
That's ridiculous.
That's what I'm saying. It's just I just want to get through it. Grundy is back to his old career best form.
Hayward's playing very well. It's his contract year as well.
Well, Carlton apparently might be offering him.
Going pretty hard.
Their forward line, which we were worried about, Logan McDonald, Papley, the little Energizer Bunny. Heating is the best player on that side. He's just gone from is what Cam Rayner should be doing for Brisbane. He's gone from a half forward to the dominant midfield in the comp.
Yeah.
Then you got the back line with McCartan, Rampy, Lloyd. Just their users off the foot. They're the best users, and they like the tough stuff. 2 years ago when they lost the flag to Geelong, I know they got pumped, but in there they were the number 1 ranking defensive side.
Yeah.
They've got it all.
They've got it. It's good. It's exciting to see for them. I thought that they had that hiccup after they lost against Richmond. I thought they'd really... I think the league went, you know what, contest them. Just put pressure on their ball users and we'll break them. West Coast sort of did that. They still won, and then they had that bye, and then
the bye was perfect.
They've corrected what.
And then that's why I thought, okay, Freo have been really good at strangling sides. Surely that this is a game they won. They smacked that in the mouth, and their ball users elite, and they're 9 weeks in. They've got players to go. Swans clear premiership favourites.
That wraps up premiership. Is there any final thoughts for anyone out there? Where do you guys see it sitting? Who's got the captain's wheel? I'd like to know.
Who does everyone think is the clear premiership favourite? I know it's very early and there's a lot to go. Do you think we got the list right? Would you swap teams in and out? Let us know.
You know what's crazy? We're a third of the way through, or we're just over. We're coming up to round 10.
Very excited. In 3 weeks, we're at the halfway point. And with our good mate Harley, we're going to do a mid-season review to look at where we actually
predicted
at the start of the year, where we were right, where we were wrong, how are our predictions. It's going to be fantastic.
The great thing about it, though, is you look at a team like Carlton last year at round 15.
Yes.
I mean, you guys weren't doing too well. Same with GWS.
Correct. And that's the thing. GWS and Carlton, no one comes from fourth last, and both played in prelims. The league is open still.
Yeah, it's wide open. What did we say yesterday? There's one clear favourite at the top of the minute.
Sydney are the clear favourite at the moment.
And then you had, the two shit teams at the bottom, West Coast and North. But outside of those teams, like you've got and Hawthorn.
And Hawthorn.
Saints every day of the week can match it with maybe not Sydney, but they can match it like Collingwood. They can match it with
They
Geelong.
have. It's been a real.
kick out.
Well, even Richmond, on their day took Sydney, who were 5-0. So it's an interesting one. I think Richmond's in the North, unfortunately, and North are skewing the league. And this is where Essendon need to take advantage of your little run that you have.
We need to smack them.
Because all those other sides have all been playing each other.
Yep.
So Carlton, I think, have Sydney this week, Gold Coast and Port.
Yeah, right.
And then it gets easier for us. So you almost got to survive those ones 50-50, 60% of those games. And then this is where the Adelaide loss for us was horrible.
Yeah.
Because that's the one not only were we better on the day, we're just a better side. It wasn't like we had an off day. We were better. But anyway, we could go around in circles. That's the premiership side.
I'm going to play the boat. It's not suspenseful enough, is it? It doesn't have enough juice.
Bite off.
All right, guys. You know the drill. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, and
Ring the fucking bell.
see you guys in the next one. Bye.